We have different scenarios. In the first one, we will integrate Cisco ACI with ISE, and we will use RADIUS. And also in our topology, we are using NPS, and also we will download and install the extension from Azure inside the NPS. And by adding that extension, we can talk to our Entra ID using API for the MFA feature. Also, I mentioned that we have an on-premise Active Directory here. So the user will be authenticated against Active Directory using LDAP. And after this procedure, we will send our request through API for MFA. And if MFA gets approved by the user, then user can authenticate to Cisco API. Same procedure for the leaf as well. And also for the second scenario, we will do the same procedure, and this time we will use TACACS. And also the relation between NPS and ISE will remain RADIUS token. In our last scenario, what we will try to do is we will remove the ISE, because there are a lot of customers that they don't have ISE, and NPS can act as your RADIUS provider. So your user will be authenticated against LDAP and will enforce by MFA using NPS only. Now let's begin with the first scenario. Based on the scenario that we already explained, let's jump to the configuration. Everything begins with NPS server. So NPS must be part of the domain. So let's check out. Our NPS computer here is in our work group, but I want to change it to our domain. It should be part of the domain. So let me double check the domain name. Networking. Okay. Okay. 220. That's the IP address that we need here. So domain, networking with SON, user and password, administrator, and the password. Okay. So now NPS is part of the domain. Let's go for reboot. Okay. Meanwhile, we need to go and check our Active Directory server. Okay, here 220, this is our Active Directory. Let me go to user and groups. Okay, in the computers, I can see that NPS is right now part of the domain and is member of domain computers. That's my NPS server. Now let me go to users and create a group. The first group is MFA admin. Okay, this is admin group. Okay, that's my first group. Inside MFA admin group, I will create a user and first name MFA-admin and user account MFA-admin. Okay, add networking with son.com. Here's the password. Confirm the password. Password never expires. Next and finish. Okay. Property, member of, and add. I'm adding this user to my MFA admin group. Okay. So membership is done. And the dial-in feature is control access through NPS network policy. That's by default though. So let me create another group. MFA-operator group. Okay, same procedure, another user account. MFA-operator. Again here, the logon name. MFA.operator, add networking with the sun. The password, confirm the password. Password never expires, next finish. Okay. Now let's talk about the membership. Go to member alpha account. Choose MFA operator group. Now my user is member of MFA operator group. Okay, let's minimize the Active Directory. And let's log into my NPS. I'm using my administrator account. Okay. This is the NPS. So let's add the NPS role. Choose the role, server role, network policy, and access service. That's the NPS. So I click here, add feature, next, and install. Okay, we have to wait. Now it's done. The installation is succeed. Close. Okay, feature installation, we're done. And now we have a new menu here. I'm pinning it to my taskbar. So this is my NPS menu. Okay. So most important and first step is to register to enable the NPS to authenticate user against the Active Directory. So I need to register this. Okay. If we go back to our Active Directory, we can see that now this role became here. Before it was only domain computers, but now it's part of RAS and IAS server. Okay. So this is one important step, that we know that NPS is registered to Active Directory. Now NPS should also talk with Azure using API. For that reason, you need to download the extension. You can Google it, download NPS extension from Microsoft Azure, and you can get it from Microsoft website. Here's the extension. Check for the latest version. This is the file name, and you start to download it. So we already downloaded the latest version here. So let's begin with the install. So the installation is successfully complete. To verify that, you need to come to Program Files, Microsoft, and you can see here Azure MFA. And there is a folder called config. Inside the config, there is a file, a PS1 file, and you have to run it over the PowerShell. Technically, this is the installer, and you will install the whole files and scripts through this process. So change your folder to Azure MFA/config, and from here you have run the PS1 file, which is Azure MFA extension config setup. So you just copy and like erase this one and paste. Okay. Now the process will begin. Okay. Make sure that we can see Google. We have the internet. So our internet connectivity is okay. So we do yes, and it will start to set up the API or Azure extension. Okay, yes. You're installing the module from an untrusted repository. It's okay. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay, we have to wait for a couple of seconds to install the extension. Let me log into my Entra ID account. As you can see, I need to log in. I need to sign into my Microsoft Azure tenant. It's on Microsoft.com. So provide tenant ID for self-signed certificate creation. So I need to get and fetch my tenant ID. So let me log in. Networking with s1.onmicrosoft.com. Next. And the password. Sign in. Okay. I can search in my Entra ID, search for tenant ID, and in tenant properties you can see my tenant ID here. So you just copy into the clipboard, come back to PowerShell and paste it. So now it's trying to restart the NPS service. Configuration is complete, and you just press enter to continue. One important step to this configuration is to add a registry key here. We have to go to HK local machine and then Microsoft Azure MFA. So if you come here, we need to add a key, a string key, and the name and the value of this key is override number matching with OTP, and the value is false. So override number matching with OTP. By falsing this registry key, technically we are not using number matching in MFA, and we just use the approve and deny prompt. And when we done this change, we need to reboot the NPS. So let's go back to our domain controller one more time. And let me go to Active Directory. Okay, the user side, we have user MFA admin, and we have a user MFA operator here. Okay, let's add them to Entra ID. So I will go to users, click on new user, create a new user. So I will create MFA admin user with networking with a SON domain. Okay. Because my domain ID in Microsoft Entra ID is networking with SON. So now I choose a display name, MFA admin here, and the password. I remove the auto generate and paste my own password. And the property, this is a member, group type is member, it's not guest. And assignment, I don't have anything here for review and create. It's okay. We create the user, refresh, MFA admin test is here. That's my display name. I will create another user account, same procedure, MFA dash operator, MFA operator test. And then remove the auto generate password, check the password. Make sure it's our networking with the son.com domain. User account is not guest, is member. There is no assignment here, and we're good to create. Refresh. Now I have MFA operator test user in my Entra ID. So let's go to MFA. And then I choose Microsoft MFA method, the Microsoft Authenticator. It's for all users, and the authentication method is push. So go to the configure, allow use. The Microsoft Authenticator is enabled. So, and this feature is enabled for all users. Let's go back to users, and there is another option here called per user MFA. So I choose admin test and operator test. So I enable MFA for them. So as soon as we enable the MFA, we have to go for enrollment. So let me refresh. Okay, here for MFA test admin and operator admin is enabled. So login.microsoft.com. And I'm going for enrollment. MFA-admin, add networking with SON, enter the password, sign in, And now more information required. Next. Okay, here is the enrollment procedure. You need your phone here to download the Microsoft Authenticator app. When you get the app, you can scan the QR code here. So you scan your QR code in your Microsoft Authenticator app. Okay, done. Next. It asked me for number matching, so I put 55 in my mobile phone. So done. Notification approved. Next. Now it asks me for email. Okay. This is a test email. I'm getting the code. Enter the code here, 804589. Okay, so we get the success message, and now we're going to change the password for MFA admin. So it asks me for my current password, then I go for a new password. So I put my new password here, and I should confirm it. Sign in. Oh. Okay. Okay, done. Okay. Let's go for MFA operator. We have to do the same procedure for your user accounts. So again, I have one MFA operator on my Active Directory, and I have one MFA operator on my Entra ID. The Active Directory one purpose for that user is user and password authentication, and the purpose of this one is MFA. So I do the same thing here, same procedure. Download the QR code, sorry, scan the QR code. Okay, let me scan, finish, and then next. It asks me for number matching. I'm putting 90 into my app. Okay, next. Same thing for the email. Doesn't matter, I put the same email account. It's okay. Four 95050. Next. Okay, we're good. The last step is to update the password. So I put my current password and the new password. Okay, now this step is also done. Let's go back to our diagram. So according to this topology, we know that NPS is talking to ISE with RADIUS protocol. So NPS should add ISE as a RADIUS client. So let's do that. I put a friend name here, ISE221, and I provide the IP address of my ISE here, 10.31.32.221 as a RADIUS client here. And then you need to have your shared secret, which is Cisco in our case. Leave the advanced, like vendor name, can be RADIUS standard, doesn't need to be Cisco. And here are connection request policy. So I put a name here, ISE221-policy, and next, and add. So what I can do here, I can add client IPv4 address. That's about the ISE IP address, 10.31.32.221. Technically, we are saying that if anything comes from the ISE, start authenticate request on this server, do not proxy it. And I can use override network policy authentication setting, and I will choose unencrypted authentication, which is for MFA stuff. So rest of the menus and options should be untouched, and then finish. Just you need to disable or delete any other policy. So my policy is ISE221 policy. The condition is if any traffic coming from my ISE, which is 10.31.32.221, they will authenticate here on this server. I don't need any accounting. Attribute, no touch. RADIUS attribute, no touch, and no vendor specific things here. So let's go to network policy, add a new policy here, and I choose ISE221 network policy underscore network policy. Next, and my condition is first the RADIUS client should be ISE, so I choose client IP address, which is ISE, and I'm choosing Windows group in our case, add group, and MFA admin group. So if your user is part of or member of MFA admin group or MFA operator group, okay, will be matched. In the next step, access granted. And in the last step, we just choose the unencrypted authentication PAP. No. Okay. Just a review. We don't need to touch any of this stuff. But if you want just to check, you can come and see these menus. Here is PPP. It's for VPN. It's not using here. And service type is framed. Okay. You can have them. Doesn't matter. So just make sure your policy is enabled, and you can disable or delete the rest of the policies. So disable here, and our policies enable grant access. Conditions are matched. Other constraints are untouched. PAP is selected. In the setting, we don't need right now this vendor specific, and we're good to go. So let's go to ISE. Now the ISE part. Go to external identity source, and here we have choose RADIUS token. Here the name is our NPS MFA underscore, and connection. In the connection menu, I need to provide the host IP address, which is 10.31.32.195. That's our NPS. So we talk through RADIUS token to each other. Shared secret, I put Cisco. And server timeout should be increased to 45 seconds because you have to consider the MFA process as well, right? So it should be more than 30 seconds. In my case, I put 45. So enable passcode caching should be enabled, and aging time is 60 seconds. Enable identity caching should be checked, and 120 minutes is enough. So this is this, and okay, shared secret Cisco. Make sure you have increased all the timeouts. Okay, that was our external identity source. Now let's go to policy. Choose policy, and then choose under policy element, choose result. In authentication, I have already all protocols. So the important thing here, make sure PAP is checked. And now authorization. So this is super important. Authorization, I add authorization profile here. This is my ACI MFA admin access or admin privilege. So you come down in the advanced attribute setting, choose Cisco, and you have to select the famous AV pair. AV pair equals shell domains equal all \admin \admin. And what does it mean? So all here, when our domains equal alls, it means that the user has access to all security domains within the Cisco ACI Fabric. And why we have two admin here? The first one represents the write privilege role, meaning the user has write permission for the domain. And the second admin represent read privilege role, meaning that the user has read permission in the ACI Fabric. So let's create a new authorized profile. So this profile is read only, ACI-MFA-operator. So in advanced setting, Cisco, AV pair, and here, shell domains equal all, that's all security domains in the ACI, and double \, an admin. What does it mean? It means read only access, because we skipped the write privilege. So let's double check again. Domain equal all \, admin. Okay, this part is also done. Now add APIC and leave switch into ISE. So let's go back to ISE again. Go to administration and go to device group. Add. That's a group, ACI devices. And I can choose all device type, or if you have any other parent group you want to assign, that's up to you. So all device type, inside all device type, I have ACI devices. So I'm adding network device, I'm adding the APIC itself. That's my APIC, 10.31.32.150. And I choose in device type ACI device. Okay, now choose RADIUS authentication setting. The shared secret is Cisco, and submit. Okay, now let's create a policy set here. Add a new policy set, ACI MFA policy, and I can choose based on network device, and if device type is ACI devices, and my allowed protocol is all protocol. Okay, save the policy. Let's go inside the policy. In authentication, that's my authentication rule, ACI MFA authentication or AUTH. I'm choosing, this is just a condition to match. So if the device are basically APIC or any other ACI device, I'm choosing NPS MFA. And for authorization, I will create two different rules. So let me go, no, not here. Let me cancel it. Let me rename this into ACI MFA authorization, admin authorization, or AUTH. Okay, I copy this and I want to make it simple. So I'm choosing RADIUS. RADIUS. And the attribute is username. Okay. If the username is MFA-admin, then I will assign a ACI MFA admin profile. And if ACI MFA, ACI underscore MFA underscore operator authorization, that's the second rule. So let's select RADIUS, username. So if the RADIUS username is MFA-operator, then I will assign ACI MFA operator profile to it. So save. Okay. So we are also done with that part. So the RADIUS part is also configured. Let's log into ACI using the local domain. Let's go to admin and provider, create provider. This is my ISE IP address 10.31.32.221. This is my ISE RADIUS. The realm is RADIUS, of course. And the password is Cisco. So how I want to reach, I'm using my default EPG, my auto band management EPG. The authentication protocol is PAP. Don't forget to increase the timeout to 45 seconds because you need some time for MFA process. So go back to login domains, action, and create a login domain. So RADIUS, and I can put a description here, RADIUS login domain, and realm is RADIUS. Cisco has Duo built in for MFA, but we are using Entra ID or Azure. So, okay, let's log out. And it's time for us to test the solution. So, choose RADIUS. And now I'm trying to log in using MFA-admin. The password. And let's begin. Login. Okay. Now I'm seeing MFA on my phone. So let me approve And you got it. Okay. So we logged into Radius using Azure MFA as well. So I will right now show you how it works. So let's first go to users and remote. And you can see MFA admin is logging through Radius. Okay, MFA admin. And this is the AV pair that we already defined for MFA admin. Okay, this is the role summary. It means it has full access to everything. And then if I go for my permission, see, that's the first, that's the second admin, read privilege and write privilege. And I, just for testing purpose, if I go to tenant, I can create tenant. So this option is not grayed out, so I can create my own tenant here. Okay, just test tenant admin, submit, is there. So I have full access to almost everything. I can create whatever that I want. I can create VRF, I can create like here, VRF test, and next, and test bridge domain, test BD, finish. So basically I have full access to all the menus everywhere. I can go to interface on Fabric policy. I can configure interface. I can choose like 101 an interface of 1/15 and policy port group, assign a port policy group, and done. Just for double check, here is my interface number 15, 1/15. So let me erase the configuration, clear the configuration. Okay, configure is cleared. Let me log out from APIC. Now let's start with MFA-operator this time. Put the password, log in, and wait for MFA. Okay, it's coming to my mobile phone. Approve. That's why we need 45 seconds timeout. So it's approved. We are right now inside the system. Now this time we are logged in as MFA operator. So let's go to admin, AAA, and choose the users, remote. So here, MFA operator, we're using Radius. And here's our AV pair, all //admin. So we don't have any write privilege. So if I come to view my permissions, I don't have write privilege. I have only read privilege. Okay, so I don't have any write access to the system. So if I go for tenant, I cannot create any tenant. So that's locked. So even if I go to bridge domain, here I cannot create bridge domain, or doesn't matter. If I go to VRF, I cannot create VRF. So in the Fabric, in access policy, interface wise, configure interface, node 101/15, port policy group, save. I cannot save it. So because there is no permission for that. Okay. So let's also check some event viewer on NPS side. So go to custom view, and in a server role, I can show you my remote NPS or network policy and access service. So here is, that's for LDAP part. And if I open, let me make it a little bit bigger, Microsoft Azure MFA and authentication. Sorry, and Azure authorization. Here we are. So you can see access accept for Azure. That's the message coming from the Azure MFA, from the Azure connector. Okay. So if check the live logs on Cisco ISE last 30 minutes. So this is my MFA admin. Okay. That's the event, username. That's all devices. That's authorization profile assigned to it. So you can validate everything on the ISE side. And this is the AV pair that is assigned to my username. So once again, I will go detailed for MFA operator. Authentication is succeed. Username is authenticator. Identity store is NPS MFA. Okay. And the AV pair is all //admin. Okay, if you want to see some Wireshark, I can show you that one as well. Let's filter based on radius. And let me relog in again. So close this, log out. Let me select the RADIUS domain again and MFA admin, the password. Okay, now wait for MFA. Approve. That's coming to my mobile phone. You cannot see it. Okay, so it's now approved. And let's go and check the RADIUS. So this is all the RADIUS messages in my NPS server. So it's coming from 150 to 221. 150 is the APIC, 221 is ISE. And you can check all the RADIUS messages. So for the next practice, we add one more leaf to our scenario. Leaf 101 is talking to ISE using RADIUS. So to add the leaf, we have to go to administration, network device, and add new network device, leaf 101, the name. The IP address is 10.31.32.152. In device type, I will choose and select ACI device in the RADIUS setting, just shared secret Cisco, and submit. So leaf 101 is added here. Okay, let's go to AAA on our APIC, and I'm changing the console authentication to RADIUS. Okay, console authentication change, and the default login also I'm changing to RADIUS. So let's try SSH to 152 using MFA admin account. So password, and now I'm receiving the MFA approve, and you should see the, yeah, okay, there we go. So show VRF, I can see all VRF here, and show IP route VRF all, I can see all the routes inside all VRFs. Let's change the protocol from RADIUS to TACACS Plus. Now ISE is using TACACS to manage and control the commands over the leaf and APIC. Again, from NPS point of view, it's nothing changed, and NPS communicates with ISE using RADIUS. Just we need to go to our previous configuration. I'm opening the APIC. I'm just adding TACACS authentication setting here. Shared secret is Cisco, and save. Now let's go to our leaf, edit, and all the way down, TACACS authentication setting, shared secret Cisco, save, and we go to our policy element, we go for TACACS profile here, just add ACI MFA, ACI underscore MFA underscore admin. Okay, now in a raw view, profile is shell domains all admin. We know again what's the first admin, the second admin, write privilege, read privilege. Another TACACS profile. This one is ACI MFA operator in a raw view. Yeah, now you know it. All admin / admin, which means no write privilege, only read privilege. So let's go to device admin policy set. This is the area for TACACS authorization. So ACI MFA TACACS policy. Let's choose the condition. If any device that coming from the ACI, because I choose leaf and APIC with tag of ACI devices. Okay, let's open this up. Now first part is the authentication policy. So we can say ACI MFA TACACS authentication, and I'm choosing any device with tag of ACI devices, and I'm choosing our NPS MFA as authentication. Then in the authorization profile, ACI MFA TACACS admin ATSI or authorization. So the condition is, now this time instead of RADIUS we have to choose TACACS. Choose TACACS, and there is no username, it's user. So TACACS user is equal MFA-admin, sorry. So command set, we don't need this. So we just go to shell profile and I'm assigning ACI MFA admin. So you can leave this as it is, and then let's go for operator, ACI MFA TACACS operator. The condition is same. We choose here TACACS, and the attribute user and is MFA-operator. Use, and we can leave command set again here, go to shell profile and assign operator profile, which is read-only. Save the policy. Now open the APIC, go to provider, choose create provider, IP address of ISE 10.31.32.221, ISE TACACS. That's our description here. You have to change the realm to TACACS Plus, and this is the password, shared secret. And I'm choosing here my out of band EPG, and in advanced setting just increase the timeout, and here the authentication protocol is PAP. Okay, we need one more step to do. Go to login domain, and I need to create a new domain, and this is my TACACS domain. Okay, TACACS Plus login domain, and realm is TACACS Plus. I will add the provider, select ISE, and we are done here. So log out. Okay. Now let's try to log in with MFA admin using TACACS protocol. So I'm choosing TACACS and login. I'm getting my prompt. Let me approve the prompt on my MFA, and we are in. So to verify that, go to admin, AAA, users, remote. Okay, now you can see MFA-admin using TACACS, and this is my Cisco AV pair, which means all security domains full control. And if you check my privilege and permission, you can see I have admin write privilege and I have admin read privilege. It means that I can create tenant and I can create everything on the system. So just for test purpose, I'm creating a new tenant, and inside the tenant I can create a VRF. I can name it TACACS VRF. This is just for testing purpose, to show you that I'm capable of creating all major components in the system. Technically I can do everything. So this is my bridge domain. I can go to the fabric, I can assign port, so I can go to configure interface, and on leaf 101 I can assign port 15 with this policy and save. Now you can see that my port number 15 is configured. So log out. And now try with read-only user, which is MFA operator. So again, the password, domain is TACACS, login. Now I'm receiving MFA on my mobile phone. Oh, we are receiving logging error message here. So let's check it on ISE. Go to live log. Check the TACACS logs. Okay. Operator. It seems that the user pass is correct. Yes, device authentication succeeded. Oh, okay. Okay, I got the issue. Hopefully you also understood what was the problem. So let's go to TACACS profile. Choose the MFA operator profile, edit, go to raw view. Oh, I'm missing an S. Here should be domains, not domain. Okay, that was the issue. Okay. Now let's try one more time. MFA dash operator, the password, login. I'm receiving the MFA, approve. And okay, nice. So we are in. Let's go to admin, AAA users, remote. Now MFA operator is here with TACACS, and the shell is domains equal all / admin, which means I have only read privilege. I don't have any write privilege. So technically I cannot create tenant, I cannot create bridge domain. See, my create tenant menu is grayed out. So if I go to anywhere, application, profile, policy, contract, VRF, I cannot create VRF here. Everything is gray out. Bridge domain, same thing. Although I can read everything, but I cannot make any change, or everything is grayed out. So let's go to Fabric and go to access policy, interface configuration, config interface. I choose node 102, and then interface 115, port policy group, assign and save. No, I cannot, because I don't have any write privileges. I have only read. And if I come back again to TACACS live log, I can see my MFA operator is logged in. And one more time, here is my AV pair in a response message. So let's try with our leaf switch using TACACS. Because I don't have any privilege to change anything, so I need to log in back with my regular admin. So choose the admin menu, AAA, and in authentication, change the console authentication to TACACS. This is related to our hardware switches. Also, you need to change the login domain, the default authentication, to TACACS as well. So make sure both of them are changed to TACACS Plus. So now try to SSH to my 101 leaf switch, MFA admin. I'm providing the password. Okay, right now I got the MFA prompt is approved. You should see the console in any second. Okay, there we go. Now we logged into our Leaf switch using Microsoft Entra ID MFA, and I can also issue some commands. Show interface E1/1, and you can see the output. Okay, let's go to the next phase. In this part of the lab, we remove the ISE and we can directly talk with NPS using RADIUS. So we need to do some adjustment here because we don't have any ISE. So because of that, we need to replace ISE with APIC as RADIUS client. So I put the APIC IP address and OK. So I add a new RADIUS client. It's Leaf 101. And the IP address of the Leaf is 32.152. And this is the shared secret. Okay. In advance, the RADIUS is standard. So now we don't need ISE, yes. We can disable it because it's not in our scenario anymore. It's the APIC and Leaf. So let's go to request policy. I disable first our ISE policy and I create a new one. ACI devices policy. Next. And now let's talk about the conditions. I can come here and now this time I'm choosing NAS identifier. And I need to create APIC security manager. Almost for every ACI device, we have to provide this identifier. The next, authenticate request on this server, we don't proxy. And I can also override network policy authentication setting, and I need to make sure PAP is selected. So here we don't touch attribute or vendor specific RADIUS attribute, and just make sure NAS identifier is APIC security manager, PAP is selected, and done. So let's go to network policy. Again, disable the ISE policy. There is no ISE in play. Add a new policy. ACI admin policy. Next, in condition, let's choose Windows group. Add, and I'm adding MFA admin group here. MFA admin group. Okay. Okay. The other condition is NAS identifier, because it's coming from all the ACI devices, so we have to put APIC security manager. It doesn't matter if the request is coming from Leaf or coming from the APIC. You have to choose APIC security manager as NAS identifier. So here at the EAP part, deselect everything, just make sure PAP is selected. And here we don't touch, but here we need to go for vendor specific this time. We add it here, Cisco, that's Cisco AV pair. And now we need to provide the value, and the value is exactly the shell profile value, shell domains equal all /admin /admin, write privilege and read privilege. Okay, we add this. Sorry, close. It's already there. Next, and finish. Make sure, again, NAS identifier is APIC security manager. Doesn't matter that your RADIUS request is coming from the leaf or from the APIC. Again, another policy, this time ACI operator policy. Same thing, Windows group, add group, and MFA operator group here. Okay. And we need to add NAS identifier. And it's APIC security manager. Okay. And next, access granted. Deselect everything. Make sure PAP is checked. We don't need to change any constraint. Although you can check it, but we don't need to change anything here. But from the vendor specific, we need to add Cisco AV pair, edit, and add a value. And the value is domains equal all / admin, which means no write privilege, only read privilege. Next, and finish. Double check everything here. Now let me log in with my admin. Go to AAA menu. I need to add a new provider, and now the provider is my Microsoft NPS server, which is 10.31.32.195. This is our NPS, and we are using RADIUS here. The realm is RADIUS. We are not using Duo, we are using Entra ID for MFA. So reachability EPG is default, and don't forget to increase the timeout for MFA process. Now let's go to login. I'm creating a new login domain, and this is RADIUS NPS. RADIUS with NPS, realm is RADIUS, and I'm adding the provider. So now 195 is my NPS RADIUS provider. So I save, and it's time for test. Log out. MFA-admin, the password, and choose RADIUS NPS domain and hit the login. Okay, I'm receiving MFA right now on my mobile phone. Approve, and we should, yes, now we are logged in to our APIC using MFA admin. We can check the permission here. I have write privilege admin, I have read privilege admin, and I can go to admin, AAA, users, remote, and check for MFA admin that's coming from RADIUS NPS with my desired Cisco AV pair. And of course, because I am admin, I can even delete the tenant, I can create tenant, I can do everything in my ACI Fabric. So I'm creating a tenant called tenant NPS test. I can do the submit. I can create, I can go to the Fabric and go to interface configuration. I can choose 101 port 16, and I can clear the configuration. So means that I have full access. So let's log out. Okay. This time I will do with MFA operator and select RADIUS NPS, log in. I'm waiting for MFA approval. Okay, MFA came. I hit the approve on my cell phone. Now we are logged in with MFA operator account. Check the permission here, view my permissions. I don't have any write privilege. I have only read privilege. So means that I cannot create something or I cannot even change it. So go to users, just for verification, remote, and I'm here, MFA operator, RADIUS NPS, and you can see the AV pair, all / admin. That's my role summary. So if I go to tenant, I cannot delete this tenant. And of course, I cannot create a new tenant. Same thing with other submenus, like I cannot create breach domain, cannot erase this one. And even if I go to access policy in a Fabric, and even if I created interface configuration, I'm not able to do it. Okay, now let's start SSH to leaf 101. Before doing that, I need to log back to APIC, go to admin AAA and change my console authentication to RADIUS NPS. Okay, and also change the default authentication into RADIUS NPS. Okay. Now SSH to my leaf 101. Hit the password. Okay, wait for MFA. Now it's coming to my cell phone. I hit the approve. And there we go. And I can show IP route VRF all. I can hit the commands, show interface E, 1/1, and I'm logged to my leaf switch using MFA. Now for the last test, I'm doing per tenant admin and operator admin. So let's log into APIC, and I have tenant 1 as an example, and I am talking about the common tenant. Okay, tenant 1 and common tenant. Okay, to do that, I need to come to network policy and choose admin policy, go to setting, vendor specific, edit, and I need to edit the AV pair. So instead of all, I'm just typing tenant 1 and admin, which means full access, full control over tenant 1, and I need common tenant / instead of admin, I need to provide read all. So I have read access only to common tenant and full access to tenant 1. Now let's adjust the operator. Okay, go to vendor setting, edit, and now remove the all, replace with tenant 1 and not admin. I can change it here to read all, and comma, common tenant / read all. So I have read all access to common and I have read all access to tenant 1. So this is more granular, and I'm talking about a specific tenant here. So let's do the test. Now I'm using MFA-admin, and I'm choosing NPS radius domain, login, approve the MFA on my Microsoft Authenticator app. So here, as you can see, I'm losing rest of the menus. I have only the tenant one. So tenant one is under my control. So I can create breach domain. I can create VRF. So like in this example, I'm creating a breach domain. Next, I can do all this stuff here. And I can create contract, standard contract, can have access to that part. So technically anything under tenant 1 is accessible for me. I can write, edit, delete. So that's only test. So for example, I'm choosing ICMP, submit. Let's verify the permissions here. So on tenant 1, I'm admin with read and admin with write. And for common tenant, I have only read privilege. So if I go to all tenant, I just can see common and tenant 1. And even if I go to common, I cannot create anything or change anything beneath common 1. So let's log out and re-log in with MFA-operator and use RADIUS NPS login, MFA approved. Okay, so let's go to tenant. I can see tenant 1, I can see common tenant, but let's verify my permissions. On each tenant, tenant 1 and common, I have only read access. So if I go to common tenant and if I go to bridge domain, I cannot create anything. And even if I go to tenant 1 and I go to networking and bridge domain, I can read those bridge domain, but I cannot delete them, or I cannot create any bridge domain. Even when we talk about the contract, I can see the contracts, but I cannot change anything. I cannot erase, I cannot create, and